The United States has carried out one of its sharpest military reinforcements in the Middle East in recent memory. The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group is already on station in the Arabian Sea, positioned roughly 700 kilometers off Iran's coast near Oman. Satellite imagery shows the Nimitz-class carrier operating with its full escort of guided missile destroyers, carrying around 90 aircraft including F-35C stealth fighters. In the past day or so, more than 50 additional fighter jets, F-22 Raptors, F-35As, and F-16S have moved into the region, many flying in from bases in Europe and the UK. Dozens of aerial refueling tankers and cargo planes have followed, part of a steady stream that has delivered well over 150 loads of weapons and ammunition to bases in Jordan, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia in recent weeks. At the same time, the world's largest warship, the USS Gerald R is crossing the Atlantic right now, heading for the Strait of Gibraltar and ultimately the Middle East. The Ford was pulled from counter-drug operations in the Caribbean and is expected to reach operational range near Iran within days to a few weeks, depending on transit speed. Once it arrives, the US will have two full carrier strike groups in the same theater, something that has not happened in this region for years. So why is this happening right now? Indirect nuclear talks between the US and Iran are continuing in Geneva. Both sides have described the latest round as having good progress on guiding principles, but no final deal is close. The Trump administration is using highly visible military power to keep maximum pressure on Tehran, show overwhelming strength so Iran feels the real cost of walking away, while still leaving the door open for a negotiated freeze or rollback of its nuclear program. Senior US officials have been direct. President Trump has spoken publicly about putting tremendous power in the region and has not ruled out regime change if no agreement is reached. Pentagon planners are preparing options for sustained strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, air defenses, and missile bases, operations that could last weeks rather than hours. The extra jets, tankers, and cargo deliveries are exactly the assets needed for that kind of campaign. Stealth fighters for initial penetrations, Growler electronic attack aircraft to suppress radars, and heavy airlift to sustain munitions flow. So far, this is playing out professionally and without direct confrontation. The Abraham Lincoln is conducting routine flight operations in the Arabian Sea, 24/7 combat air patrols, refueling drills, and presence missions. The Ford and its escorts are making good speed across the Atlantic. They have not yet entered the Mediterranean, but are on track. No US or Iranian forces have clashed. Iran responded with its own large naval drills in the Strait of Hormuz, including a temporary partial closure for live fire exercises and joint maneuvers with Russian and Chinese warships. That was clearly a counter-signal, but shipping has resumed and no tankers were held up for long. The region is tense but still under control. US Central Command has released photos of the Lincoln strike group to reinforce the message: we are here, we are ready, and we can stay as long as necessary. This has got consequences. This build-up gives Washington serious leverage in Geneva. Iran now sees that stalling or walking out carries a visible military price. Oil markets have already baked in a small risk premium. Brent crude is hovering near $69 a barrel after ticking up on the news. Medium term, the risk of miscalculation climbs. With two carriers, dozens of extra jets, and Iranian fast boats and missiles practicing in the same confined waters, the odds of an accidental incident rise sharply. One misread radar contact, a drone flying too close, or a provocative maneuver could spiral quickly. Longer term, if the talks collapse, the US now has the pieces in place for a serious air campaign that could run for weeks. That would almost certainly push oil prices well above $100, disrupt global shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, which handles 20% of the world's traded oil, and draw Russia and China deeper into the picture. Both already have naval forces exercising alongside Iran. There is also the human and logistical strain. The Gerald R has already been at sea for more than 8 months, one of the longest carrier deployments in recent history. Extending it further stresses sailors and maintenance crews, but the Pentagon clearly views the strategic need as overriding. One more thing worth noting. This is not the largest US military concentration ever seen in the Middle East. That remains the 1991 Gulf War or the 2003 Iraq invasion, but it is the most concentrated show of force specifically aimed at Iran since the 2019-20 crisis. What stands out this time is the dual track. Serious talks are happening in Geneva at the same moment the hardware is moving into position. That combination is rare and shows how high the stakes have become. The bottom line is straightforward. The United States has decided that diplomacy with Iran must be backed by overwhelming visible power. The carriers are there, the jets are arriving, the cargo planes are flying, and the second carrier is on the way. Whether this forces a deal or sets the stage for something far more dangerous will likely be decided in the coming weeks. For now, the Middle East remains on edge, watching every flight and every ship movement very closely.